With NBA free agency about to get underway on this Sunday, June 30th, we have some breaking news here on Golden State Warriors today. Last week, at the end of the week, we talked about how Golden State had pushed back that decision to guarantee Chris Paul's contract. And they did that to give themselves a little bit of flexibility, to buy them time in trying to make a decision as for what the future was going to hold for Chris Paul. Over the last couple of days, Golden State did look for a trade partner for Chris Paul's services, but it's easy to see why teams did not want to trade for CP3. He is an older player who at this point is not worth $30 million, and now that the Golden State Warriors are releasing him, which is the breaking news, a team can sign him for a much more affordable contract as compared to that $30 million in guaranteed money. Now, why are the Warriors making this move here today? Shams Charania shedding some insight on that, and we'll give you the cap implications of this coming up here in just a few moments. But Shams tweeting this, that Golden State waiving Chris Paul, he had a $30 million guarantee date today. So the Warriors had to make a decision today. Over the last couple of days, according to reports and things that we've heard here at Chat Sports, Golden State was trying to facilitate a trade so they could get some value back. Now they're releasing him. They're not getting any value back, but it is going to open up some much-needed money for Golden State. Because over the last several years, with Steph Curry playing under a big price tag, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Andrew Wiggins, a couple of years ago, Jordan Poole, the list goes on and on and on, the Warriors have been in the luxury tax. By releasing Chris Paul, Golden State right now no longer in the luxury tax, which Joe Lacob has talked about trying to avoid. Now, there's also this note from NBA insider Jake Fisher, and he passes along the news of the Warriors waiving Chris Paul. Now the Warriors here have access to their full $12.8 million mid-level exception should it also lose Klay Thompson. And the Warriors plan to be creative in how to spend that salary slot. Now, from what I gathered from Bobby Marks of ESPN, just by releasing Chris Paul, the Warriors now have access to that 12.8 MLE. If they find a way to sign and trade Klay Thompson, that is an avenue in which Golden State would be able to open up even more cap space to give them a little bit more flexibility, and they can continue to be creative with how they construct their roster. Now, with that 12.8 mid-level exception, they're not going to be able to land a marquee free agent. The hopes of a Paul George kind of sailed once he opted out of that player option because Golden State was trying to maneuver a sign-in trade, giving up pieces to shed some salary in order to absorb the salary of Paul George, and then they would sign him to that 4-year max deal. But with that 12.8 mid-level exception, you're looking at the likes of a Gary Trent Jr., a DeAnthony Melton, one of those players who could be a spot starter, fringe starter, or come in off the bench. Let's go back to Chris Paul here, because you look at what he's done over the last 4 years. We showed you those numbers. When the Warriors and Mike Dunleavy made that move to bring him in, it was a little bit of a head-scratcher. It's not anything that anybody had predicted or projected. It came out of nowhere because the Warriors needed another ball handler, but did they need a ball handler to the likes of Chris Paul, who ended up coming off the bench for Golden State when he's always been a starter, isn't known to be a shooter who launches all that often, wasn't really a good system fit, and he was entering his age 38 season at the time, and he just didn't get as much time as far as playing time as he had gotten in previous years, so his impact was not as felt. And now, after 1 year with the Warriors, he gets released in a move that isn't the greatest look for Mike Dunleavy Jr., because you ended up paying him a large chunk of cash for very little production, in which he gave you 9 points per game. He shot 44% from the floor, 37% from three, and a little under 7 assists. Now, with how much he was playing, 26 minutes per night, that was pretty solid production. If Chris Paul goes somewhere else, even though he's 39 years old right now, I still think that he's going to be able to contribute and he can still play 30-plus minutes per game because he's in really good shape and he takes a lot of care of his body, even though he's had to deal with some unfortunate injury misfortune throughout his entire career, especially in the playoffs. But certainly an interesting move here on the Warriors front to let go of Chris Paul. And Mark Stein reporting this: there will be no shortage of Chris Paul suitors once he becomes a free agent. But league sources continue to say, as I have been reporting, that San Antonio has a strong interest in Chris Paul to join forces alongside Victor Wembanyama. CP3 is looked at as a veteran leader, a guy who has been a team captain before, who will hold others accountable, who has an extremely high basketball IQ, and he's going to be valued in that sense, in addition to just being a valuable basketball player, even at the age of 39 years old. He's put together a hell of a resume as well. He was a fourth-round pick all the way back in 2005. Some of you watching the show weren't even born then. Some of you very, very young like myself. For me, I was 13 years old back in 2005. I am now 32. So I have seen and I have remembered every step of Chris Paul's career, even when he was at Wake Forest playing college ball, when he was a highly touted recruit coming out of high school, when he went to West Forsyth in Clemens, North Carolina, went to Wake Forest. He was there from 2003 to 2005. It's rare for a player of that pedigree to be in college that long. He gets drafted 4th overall in 2005 by the New Orleans Hornets at the time. He's there from 2005 to 2011. A lot of people thought that he was going to get traded to the Los Angeles Lakers, but at the time, a lot of chatter that David Stern did not let that happen. So instead, CP3 got traded to the Los Angeles Clippers. He's there from 2011 to 2017. Then he teamed up alongside James Harden. He was with the Houston Rockets from 2017 to 2019. Warriors fans remember the 2018 season very vividly because if Chris Paul did not get hurt in that playoff series for Houston, Golden State may have lost. And they came back from that deficit, and they ended up winning that series in 7 games when in Game 6, the Rockets had missed like 29 consecutive threes, and not having CP3 in that series really cost them. Then CP3 from there went to the Oklahoma City Thunder 2019-2020, with the Suns from 2020 to 2023. Almost won an NBA championship against the Milwaukee Bucks, which he's already going to be known as one of the great point guards in the history of the NBA. But if he gets a title or got a title, that would really solidify himself as just a special player at that position. And then from the Suns, he goes to the Warriors. His resume, incredible. He's going to be a Naismith Basketball Hall of Famer, 12-time All-Star, 4-time All-NBA First Team, 5-time All-NBA Second Team, 2-time All-NBA Third Team. So that right there, 11 times he's been an All-NBA member, 7-time All-NBA Defensive First Team, twice Defensive Second Team, Rookie of the Year, 5 times he led the NBA in dimes, 6 times he led the NBA in steals. Just a very, very special player. Unfortunately for Golden State, it did not work out, but they freed themselves as far as the cash flow. Your one-word reaction to the Warriors releasing Chris Paul. Let me know down in the comment section. When breaking news happens, we have you covered right here on Warriors Today, so hit that sub button and lock us in.